Welcome to Neo Royal House of Pricey Cardboard. On today's special episode, we are doing our traditional Commander 1v1 with the new Precons. Hopefully, this gives you an idea of the product before you buy. We really liked improving those Precons on the last release, so we did the same thing, except this time we're using only cards from the matching set Kaldheim. I had a feeling Elfball would just outpower the Foretell deck if we went for all of Magic's history. I will be playing Ranar, the Ever-Watchful. This is a flicker deck with a Foretell sub-team looking to ramp and get into big spells like Day of the Dragon or Synthetic Destiny, turning these 1/1 flyers into something more threatening. The deck also runs a couple of anthem to get our flyers into 2/2s and 3/3s. You can see on the screen the card I chose to remove, most of them on the higher side of the curve. I'm trying to get the deck to go a bit faster. I added mostly Foretell cards as I felt we were really getting spirits from that half of the commander. It's a way to get mana advantage as well with Ranar. Kelly will be playing Lathril, Blade of Elves. The green side of the deck is your pretty typical tribal elf ball list, but with a lot more elves starting at 3 CMC and 4. I think they did this to prevent the Precon to crush the other one. The black half of the deck still cares about elves, but a lot of them triggers when they go to the graveyard, so you really get that golgari twist on their whole tribal. You can see on the screen the cards Kelly chose to remove. Like myself, she tried to lower the curve a bit, getting some 4 and 5 CMC creatures and replacing them with 2 and 3 drops from Kaldheim. Our opening hand contains Dwinnen Guiltleaf Dean, Numa Juraga Chieftain, Crown of Skemfar, Serpent Souljar, a basic forest, and 2 basic swamps. My opening hand contains Flickerwisp, Brago King Eternal, Cosmos Charger, Thunderclap Wyvern, Azorius Signet, a basic island, and a basic plains. I get to start this off. And land drop an island. Kelly land drops a forest. I land drops a plains and cast Azorius Signet. Kelly land drops a swamp and cast Arcane Signet. I land drop an island and cast my commander, Ranar, the Ever-Watchful. I then foretell a card for free and create a 1/1 spirit with flying. Kelly land drops a swamp and cast Dwinnen Guiltleaf Dean. The reach on this lord will probably stop my early attacks. I go to my turn and cast Brago King Eternal. I then land drop an island, passing. Kelly land drops a forest and casts Miara, Thorn of the Glade. She casts Elderfang Ritualist, ending her turn. I cast Seagate Oracle. Entering the battlefield, I get to keep one card from my top 2, bottoming the other one. I then land drop the newly found island and cast Flickerwisp. Entering the battlefield, I exile the reach creature until the next end step. Ranar triggers and gives me another spirit. I go to combat, sending Brago, Ranar, and a spirit. Brago triggers on damage and I flicker itself, the Flickerwisp, and the Seagate Oracle. Ranar gives me another spirit and I get my 2 ETBs once more. I resolve the Oracle first, keeping one from the top 2, and then use the Flickerwisp to flicker the Oracle again until end of turn. We go to the end step and the Oracle comes back with Dwinnen. Kelly land drops Skemfar Elder Hall, the golgari version of the new spell land cycle. She then casts Crown of Skemfar on the Ritualist, passing. On my turn, I cast Momentary Blink on my Flickerwisp. I get a spirit and exile the Enchanted Elf until the next end step with the ETB. Going to combat, I attack with Brago, Ranar, and 4 spirits. Kelly blocks Brago with Dwinnen. Reacting to blockers, I cast Thunderclap Wyvern. Kelly then takes 11. She then drops Jungle Hollow, gaining a life. She then casts our commander, Lathril, Blade of the Elves. On my turn, I cast Ghostly Flicker, targeting Flickerwisp and Seagate Oracle. Getting the card from the Oracle first, and then exiling Seagate until the end of turn. I get 2 spirits in the process. I land drop Azorius Chancery, returning a tapped land to hand. And heading into combat, I send all my flyers once more while Kelly is busy blocking Brago. At my end step, the Oracle comes back for a card. Kelly casts Numa Juraga Chieftain, and then Serpent Souljar. For a combat step, she attacks with Ritualist, Dwinnen, Miara, and Lathril. I block the commander with 2 spirits and take the rest. Miara triggers for a card and Kelly pays. At the end step, I flash in my Foretell card, Cosmos Charger. I then only need to go to combat and send my flyers for lethal damage. This was a pretty quick game. Let's get another one, shall we? My opening hand contains Ghostly Prison, Flicker Wisp, Tranquil Cove, a basic island, and 3 basic plains. Kelly's opening hand contains Elven Bow, Forever Elf, Reclamation Sage, Skemfar Elder Hall, a basic forest, and 2 basic swamps. Kelly gets to start this one, and land drops Skemfar Elder Hall. I land drop Tranquil Cove, gaining a life. Kelly land drops a forest, and I land drop a plains. Kelly then land drops a swamp, and casts Elven Bow. Entering the battlefield, she pays the 2 to get a token attached to it. I land drop an island, and cast Ghostly Prison. Kelly is quite annoyed by its inclusion in the Precon. She then drops a swamp and casts her commander, Lathril, Blade of the Elves. I then drop a plains and cast my commander as well, Ranar, the Ever-Watchful. I foretell a card for free and get a spirit. Kelly then drops a forest and casts Harald, King of Skemfar. Entering the battlefield, she reveals Poison Sep Archer and put it to her hand from her top 5. I then drop an island and foretell a card for free, getting a spirit. I then cast Core Cartographer. Entering the battlefield, I get a plains from my deck on the battlefield. I pick the new Glacial Floodplain. Kelly then drops a swamp and casts Poison Tip Archer.
Casting Poison Tip Archer.
I then drop a plains and cast Flicker Wisp. Entering the battlefield, I exile my core until the end step, getting a spirit. I then cast Tale of the Ancestors from my foretell cards. I draw a 2 to get to the same end size as Kelly. After that, I cast my second foretell, Golgari Raven. We then go to the end step where the cartographer comes back. Kelly casts Forever Elf. Entering the battlefield, she gets a basic forest on her table. She follows it up with the Reclamation Sage, destroying the Ghostly Prison on ETB. Free to go to combat, Harald attacks me and I block with 2 spirits. The poison tip triggers and lose me 1. I then drop a plains and cast Empyrean Eagle. I go to combat as well, sending Ranar, Flicker Wisp, and the Raven. Kelly blocks Flicker Wisp with the token holding the bow. Reacting to blockers, I cast Ghostly Flicker and target the Cartographer and the Wisp. Entering the battlefield, I get a plains from my deck and exile Kelly's token. I should have made 2 spirits in the process, but I only made 1. Kelly then takes 7. On her turn, she casts Numa, Juragot Chieftain. She then casts Crown of Skemfar, enchanting Lathril. Going to combat, Rex Sage, Forever Elf, and Lathril come to me. I block with 2 Spirit and Flicker Wisp on Lathril, Rex Sage with Ranar, and Forever Elves with the Eagle. Damage happens and the poison tip loses me 3 life. I draw for turn and cast Commander Sphere. I sacrifice it for a card, not even bothering to float the mana before. I then head into combat, sending Ranar plus my Raven to Kelly. She blocks Ranar with Poison Tip, trading. In second main, I recast Ranar and pass. Kelly then drops a swamp and casts Moldavine Reclamation. She then equips the bow on Numa, granting him reach. I then drop Sigiri Refuge, gaining a life. Now that Ranar doesn't trade anymore, I send only the Raven. Kelly casts Timberwatch Elf and follow it up with Elvish Promenade, creating 2 tokens. We then go to my turn, where I land drop an island and attack Kelly for 4 again. Being extremely flooded, I pass. Kelly casts Ruthless Winnower. Then, at the beginning of combat, she pays 2 to put a +1/+1 on one of her tokens. She then sends it to me, buffing it with the Timberwatch Elf. At my upkeep, I sacrifice Ranar to the Winnower. I then recast Ranar and foretell a card for free, getting a spirit. I then cast my foretell card, Stoic Farmer. This is actually a misplay, as you can't play foretell cards on the same turn. My mistake. Entering the battlefield, I get a plains to my hand as I control more lands than my opponent. Still in the same boat, I send the Raven to Kelly. Kelly only controls elves at her upkeep. She then land drops a command tower before recasting Lathril. At the beginning of combat, she pays 2 into Numa to put a +1/+1 on himself. She then sends a token to me and buff it with Timberwatch. At my upkeep, I sacrifice my Cartographer. I land drop an island and cast Swiftfoot Boots. I go to combat and send everything beside the Anthem Eagle to Kelly. She blocks with Numa and Ruthless Winnower, taking 5. On her turn, Kelly cracks her Skemfar Elder Hall, giving -2/-2 to my spirit and creating 2 elves. At the beginning of combat, she pays 2 to put a +1/+1 on Lathril Lathril attacks me and Kelly buffs her with Timberwatch. I double block with Ranar and the Eagle. I then drop a Plains on my turn and cast Cloud Blazer. Entering the battlefield, I gain 2 life and draw 2. I then cast Marble Diamond and Brago, King Eternal. I equip the boots to Brago, but sadly, facing too many reach, I pass. Kitty casts Dwynnen Guiltleaf Dean. At the beginning of her combat, she pays 4 to put 2+1/+1 on 2 elves, full swinging at me beside Timberwatch, using it to buff Lathril. I do not block as I have been out of gas for multiple turns already and give the game to a slow yet effective elf machine. Well played. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. While not containing the most exciting reprints, I think these Precons are fun to play and you can definitely improve them for stronger table. I have no doubt that if you add all the 1 and 2 drops elves from Magic's history, this deck will jump in power level in no time. Lathril with equipments like Bloodblade Reforge and some form of trample will also be excellent to make tokens. As for Ranar, I think he's a fun commander, but I would say his maximum power level is probably lower than Lathril. You can make a polymorph build with him, a little bit like a redless Sky card, or stick to some flicker chains and run even more anthems to make your 1/1s more deadly. Make sure to like and subscribe, take care, and we'll see you very soon.